Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to episode number 13 of the Blacktown Football Hour podcast. Now, you might be thinking, Mark, why haven't you made fun of a team like you always do at the start of the episode? And the answer is, well, today we're doing something different. This is episode number, the atomic number of aluminum, the number of cards in a suit in a standard deck of cards, and of course, episode number, the amount of times that Cardiff and Bolton Wanderers have been relegated in their history. Episode of the Blacktown Football Hour podcast. 13. How's that for a lucky number? Subscribe if you are new around here, click like for the halfway point of the BDSFA season, and of course, let's cue the intro music. This week's Volunteer of the Week went to Ropes Crossing Strikers' home ground to visit Mark Kelly. Nicknamed Neddy, he is always going above and beyond to help the members of Ropes Crossing each and every week. He's at the ground 3 nights a week, plus weekends. Wow. Ensuring teams have the required equipment to train and doing a great job sorting out their and distributing their playing kits to over 700 playing members. On weekends, in between and sometimes during his own kids' games, you'll find Neddy cooking up a storm on their huge barbecue. Neddy, from the BDSFA to you, thank you. You are the Volunteer of the Week winner. On this week's episode of the Blacktown Football Hour podcast, we've got probably the most interesting set of WPL pre-match of the round interviews that we've had so far. There's some serious banterous but still bitterness between both Kellyville and Castle Hill United, two teams that have been competing for championships in the Hills competition for a long, long time, and I think it's going to be a genuine blockbuster. We also caught up with Glenwood in the Men's Premier League for the first time this year, which means they had a lot of talking to do to catch up for lost time, and a lot of talking they indeed did. Finally, as well, we will catch up again with our favourite over 35s ladies teams from Ropes in that Division 1 competition. The two teams from Ropes having basically undefeated starts of the season. We're going to have them on again because they're facing each other again tomorrow night, and it's a cracker of a set of interviews. Unfortunately, Polonia in the Men's Premier League were not able to come here and feature on the podcast this week. I'm very sorry about that, but I can't help that. So I think we should get into some results. The AYL boys had the derby up against Nepean. Boom, 13s won 4-1. Boom, 3-1 win for the 14s. Boom, 1-0 win for the 15s. And then ouch, a 4-1 loss for our 16s. And even bigger ouch, a 3-0 loss for our 18s. It was a better result for our 20s boys for Spartans, but still a 2-1 loss to Raiders here at home hurt. Before our first grade suffered their first loss at home all season, 1-0. Frustration, it really was a killer. Right, let's not delay any longer. I want to go straight into these WPL interviews. Castle Hill United are about to set the tone for the rest of the season. Strap yourselves in and enjoy. The Women's Premier League will re-welcome Castle Hill United Football Club in the match of the round this weekend, Sunday 3 p.m. in another Hills derby in what's set to be one of the games of the season. We're here to talk to their two returning guests, of course, Colin and Jazz, who both had the cold, by the way, but have braved this time, both in gear as well. Colin, especially with that awesome beanie, repping his side in the match of the round. You can't see the reactions right now, but they're having a great laugh off the camera. You can only see my face, but they're going to have a great time. Yes. So thank you guys very much for joining us, even though you're sick and in the middle of work. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
Now, I want to start with a little look at the table, and I will remember to put the table up right now as I'm speaking. So let me just sort of spell it out to you in very simple terms, for our viewers especially, because it's really interesting. So the top 3 are Holroyd, Parkley, and Kellyville. That's in descending order. The 4th spot is very much up for grabs, and obviously top 4 will go through to the finals. Now, at the halfway point of the season, anyone can get to that 4th spot. But at the same time, again, the top 3 could crumble, of course. But what we're going off right now is built upon what's happened so far in the season. So that top 3, let's say it stays the same. That 4th spot is really very much up for grabs. And any of the teams, maybe barring 1 or 2, could realistically aim for that top 4 spot. I want to know, Colin, I'll start with you. Is your perspective on the rest of the season from this point, looking at the table now with you guys on 9 and Kellyville just 1 above you on 14 points, is your mentality to break into the top 3 and continue on your strong momentum that you've been building in recent weeks? Or is it more to solidify that 4th spot and keep it out of the grubby hands of, let's say, every other team that's trying to go for it? So what is your mentality into the rest of the second half of the season?
Yeah, a couple of points. You may or may not remember last time we spoke, I talked about we'd had a very stilted start to the season. We had 2 games in 5 weeks nearly. And then we would get a momentum going, we'd get a roll on. Well, that's happened. Last time we spoke, we had a night game. We won that. We won the match of the round. We had a draw on Sunday, which wasn't our best, but we have that now, and that's where I thought we would be. So that's the part of that. And to answer the rest of it, no, I still believe that we can go right to the top. This round sees us, we've played everybody, okay? And so we now know, crossing over 3 associations, I didn't know, I knew a couple of the teams, but I didn't know whatever, and even the Colts and Winston were new teams. So we now know who we're up against, and we now know what we're up against. We've got momentum going, and no, I see there's no way we can't beat everybody and be at the top.
Now, Jazz, I'll cross to you here because just 3 weeks to a month ago, there was a 4-2 loss to Holroyd, and then really you kicked into gear and you got some big wins. So now that you have played everyone once, except for Kellyville, by the way, I don't think you've actually played Kellyville yet.
This week is round 9. Yep.
Yeah, we'll go back. We'll come full circle come this weekend. So you've played everyone bar the team who are coming up this weekend. Did you think that in those games, I know we have actually spoken about this already, but did you think that, yes, we can certainly beat every team that we played against so far?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I don't know what's happening. We had a slow start to the season. We've gotten a lot of new girls, which, I mean, everybody does, but just our final third finishing off hasn't been the greatest. But once we started winning, started scoring, we're only going up from here. Like from all our games that we've played, we should have won.
Wow. And certainly big words to go with some big performances recently. Your match of the round game, Colin, against Norwest has completely done different things for the momentum shift of both sides. Firstly, Norwest has been halted. Their blip of really good form seems a bit obsolete now, and they've sort of crashed back down the table. They were sitting up right in this 4th spot that you guys are in now, whereas you guys seem to have turned a corner, and now you're in that 4th spot. You had a big win in midweek up against Greystanes. Do you think that was the catalyst for change, that 2-1 victory at their home ground, followed up by a great performance in the match of the round where you came away as 4-2 winners?
Yeah, look, we took a lot out of that game against Greystanes. They're a very physical, very strong team, and we needed to be not princesses. We needed to stand up, and I think we all walked away from that knowing if we're going to compete, near enough's not good enough, and we have to go hard. So we took great lessons from that. We then went out the next week in the match of the round and did that. We played really hard. We dropped off a bit last time. That's okay. It was a long day, whatever. But yeah, I do think we took a heck of a lot from that. And I keep saying that momentum. We're now on this roll, and I see good things. Yes.
And for you, Jazz, do you think it's improved the chemistry or the sort of well-being mentally of the dressing room? Are the girls feeling a bit more confident going into games now that you're actually playing consistently and not having big gaps in between games?
I think so. Yeah, for sure. Like, I feel like once training came like a reoccurring thing, and playing hard and seeing how hard each other play, we've definitely, confidence-wise, we've definitely like increased our confidence and our trust in everyone else as well, which is really good.
Yeah, awesome. Jazz, I'll stick with you. A match of the round that went 4-2 in your favour. 4 goals on camera, which is great. Plenty of great things to clip up and put in the group chat, for example, which is what I know that all the teams love doing. Can you remember, I know you're struggling to remember points of the game as we've spoken about off camera, but do you remember anything about your performance specifically in that game or any standouts from that game?
In my performance?
Sure.
I didn't score, which was great. I shot with my right foot, which I haven't done in a couple of months. But my team, we were just there to help each other out. Like our centers, they worked so hard, and they were getting taken out every 10 seconds, but they just kept pushing. And I was seeing how hard they were working for us, really put everybody else in perspective and saying, like, you working your ass off for us, so we're going to do that for you, sort of thing, which was really great. But I'm still not on the scorecard, which is, great, but it'll come.
Colin, I can't imagine you'd be too disappointed with one of your star players' performance so far this season in Jazz. I know how important she is for you, even if she's not necessarily putting her name next to the scoring charts. Can you name any other standouts from that match of the round in particular who stood out for you?
I think only, Jazz, you might help me here, but I think only one game in however many we've played, 8, a player from our team hasn't been player of the round. Even when we've lost, our players have been player of the round. So we've in that game we're talking about, poor old Jazz, she normally plays number 9, sits there and does nothing. But I actually put her on the wing and she had to run and she ran and she put up a lot of kilometres that day. And because I'm just trying to get some options up front so that we're not predictable, so that, if anybody sees the style of play, well, I can switch it around a bit. And so I'm asking a lot of players, but we're getting it. We're getting it now with the continuum and with the training we're doing. It's all coming together.
No, very good to hear indeed. And I think it's also really good on the side that, as you've mentioned now, some really physical games out there, which is, again, I've actually waxed lyrical is the phrase I use about how the Women's Premier League has been taken more and more seriously, not just by outsiders, but by people actually involved in it, from coaching staff to the clubs to the players themselves. And it's good to know that as much as it might be painful, that the players are giving it their all and doing what it takes to win, which is, I was worried that would have to be pushed a little bit, but not at all. It is really been taken seriously, and people are feeling that the pain mentally and physically of not coming away with results or not being dominant in midfield, for example. So it's actually good, as much as the bruise on your arm or leg might say another thing, Jad, that the games are producing really good performances, and I'm very happy to hear this. Now, unless Dribble is lying to me, you've not played Kellyville in years gone by. And as you mentioned, yes, you have played them this season, but you have played them in years gone by. Now, I can't do much research on years gone by in terms of grand final results against them, but I want to hear about this sort of long-standing rivalry and why this is a perfect match of the round for this Sunday. So tell me some memorable moments from Castle Hill United versus Kellyville Colts from the years prior to this. What are some stories you can throw my way? I'll start with you, Colin.
We go back a long way, and Castle Hill United was probably the preeminent women's club, and Colts, to their credit, through Bob, has done a great job coming up and probably now being the preeminent one in the Hills District. Bob won't remember a lot of the games; he's a bit old, but over the years, I would say that we've shared the honours. We've had wins in grand finals, and they've been torrid, tough events. They've had wins. They beat us last year in the grand final, so we're right for, if they get there, because we will. We're right for revenge and take them out again. But we both respect each other every time we go out, and we play very hard. And it's a local derby of sorts, and we want to win, and they want to win. So. It's always toughly contested.
Okay, very interesting. So I'm just gathering from that the most recent, the bragging rights currently are in their court, is what I'm gathering, yes?
From last year's grand final, yes.
Okay. That puts a big spin on it. So it's a grand final replay in a lot of ways. Jazz, what about you as a long-standing member of the playing staff? Are there any moments, any goals on your end, perhaps, that have separated the two sides in years gone by? What about you?
This team that's playing this season isn't the same team that we've versed in past years. Like, for example, we've lost our last couple of grand finals to them, but then before that, we versed them in the grand final, and they made the ref cry. And we won that one. But I think it was last year's grand final, we lost maybe 5-1. But when we scored, it was Beck. She scored, and the whole stadium just went crazy, and it was the best thing ever. We only scored the one, but it was, honestly, it could have been the best goal of the season, and everyone loved it. The whole crowd loved it, and it was so wholesome. So that was a really good moment for us. We still talk about it. Beck's still known for it. But yeah, I think even in losses, we're really encouraging as well. Like even the other girls, some of the Colts girls are a couple of my good friends, and they cheer us on as well. We have like heaps of respect for each other mostly, which is really good. But right now they have bragging rights, but it won't last long.
So it sounds very much like for about 22 hours of a Sunday, you guys have great respect. But when it comes to actually playing on the field for 90 minutes or so, there's a bit of there's definitely history and a bit of feeling. And the interesting thing is that your squad has, as far as I'm concerned, and from what I've learned, a lot of you guys have stayed together. Yes, you've had a couple of players in. It's Colts who have done a lot of the sort of the scouting and who have brought in new players. So the feeling certainly, and that inner momentum and desire will certainly be in your court rather than theirs. So I'm very interested to see how the game pans out, not just from a tactical standpoint, but from an emotional standpoint as well. I'm very keen to see how this goes. I might even try and get down there and watch in person, I think, which would be awesome. Now, in terms of what you've noticed in years gone by from a tactical standpoint, Colin, now they have changed a lot of their personnel, as I literally just said. But even from what you might have noticed from their win in the match of the rounds earlier, and high as well, what have you noticed about them, and have you what can you reveal to us actually?
Absolutely nothing. I don't got to tell you anything. No, look, I've done my research. And I know their playing style. We talked about it at training last night, and I know how they go forward particularly, and so we've got plans in place to combat that, and it's something that we can do. I've just got to remind the players to do it because it's something we can do quite well. We attack very quickly, very fast, and the counter is at lightning speed especially when we've got our best team on the field. So I'm not worried about us scoring. My focus will be on not letting them score. But that said, we're good enough to beat them at the two teams on the field. So yeah,
I love that. I love that quite a lot. Maybe the next time I run into you at the Woolworths Metro, I can ask you about them tactically and I can find out.
I'm not talking to someone who's in their pajamas at 6 o'clock at night on a Sunday night.
Yes, the soy sauce was not on special. I can reveal that. It's unideal. Jazz, from what you've just heard just then, obviously I don't want you to reveal anything and get in trouble, but what was it like having that team talk last night at training? Did it sort of put this game into a bit of a different perspective for you guys? Did you get something helpful out of it, would you say?
It'd be good if she listened.
Well, from what I did listen to, yeah, I think it definitely, for the younger girls, they were quite nervous because Colts in our previous years, they've been the ones to beat. And I think even in all the ages, in all like men and women's, it's always Castle Hill and Colts that are rivals, like always. So I think the new girls were sort of like a bit weary about it. But our talk last night, they definitely came back and they were like so ready. They were like, yeah, let's go, let's win. I'm sick of drawing. Let's win some games. Let's score some goals. And Adriana had her first goal on the weekend as well, which really put her up, which is, yeah, I think our team confidence, the more we hang out, the more we're just like building each other up, which is great.
Very good to hear indeed. My last question is about the team equal on points with you guys right now. So that's Greystanes. And it turns out that 2-1 win that you had over them was actually really important because it puts you right up there along with them. The challenge is they have a match up against bottom of the table Marion. So that's, provided that history is the best indicator of the future, they will get 3 points from that game. And you have a very difficult matchup on paper, certainly in Kellyville. So is that something, Colin, that crosses your mind as to the team who are neck and neck with you guys are playing an easier opponent? Does that even go into your stream of consciousness at all?
Yeah, look, I look at the table and I understand where everybody is. Sorry, excuse me. I understand where everybody is and who they're playing. Yeah, I look at all that sort of thing and factor it in. the old cliches. Yeah, we focus on what we're doing, and we need to do that, and that's all that we can control. So we'll do that. But I see us continuing to win. So those that are behind, they'll have to try and catch on. The good thing about this competition is that on any given day, any team can beat anybody. I really believe that. There's factors involved, like someone might be away or sick or whatever, and you can't get your full team. But any team can beat anybody. So it's a really vital comp. It's quite good. But yes, I am aware of them, and we were very glad to have that win. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And Jazz, just one very final question. What are your predictions for this game?
I reckon we'll win. I reckon it'll be really hard. Not like putting us down or anything, but I think that both teams are going to come out obviously against their own rivals, and going to be really strong and competitive in this weekend's game. It's also a massive game for everybody. Last of the round and stuff like that. But we don't trip over from what's behind us. So we've got it, I think.
That's a very good analogy. That's a very, very good analogy indeed. I wanted to use that one day. I like that. Very good. From pajamas to interesting stories about refs, this has been a fantastic podcast episode and segment. I thank you very much all for your patience and your time in participating today, Castle Hill. And when the team does watch this back, I'm sure ahead of the match around this Sunday, I do wish you guys all the best of luck, and I hope that we get to see a really great show. But thanks individually to you guys for taking the time today to feature on.
Thanks to you, Mark. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome back. Before we hear the response from Kellyville Colts, our Spartans girls faced up against Bulls FC Academy, a great 1-0 win for our reserve grade before a frustrating loss 4-0 in firsts. Right, Colts. For the third time this season, we are joined by the presence that is Kellyville Colts. They are one of the front runners in the Women's Premier League this year, and they have a great battle and rivalry with Castle Hill United, who are their match of the round opponents this weekend, and we're here to ask them all the tough questions as per usual. I'm joined by Georgia and by Bianca and by Bob, who are three faces that you've already seen on the podcast, and it's great to have them back. Thanks for joining us, guys. I really do appreciate it.
Hi.
Howdy.
Now, I asked a very similar question to your opponents about 3 hours ago, and I did speak to them, that being Castle Hill, about the current state of the table. So to those who aren't aware, it seems that we've got a top three who have really emerged as front runners in this competition, which is funny that we have one team from each association. So in descending order, it goes Holroyd, Parkley, and then you guys, Kellyville. I want to know that from your perspective and the way that you're sort of looking at teams from now on, are you perceiving the rest of the season, which is the second half of the season, as a three-way fight for the minor premiership and finishing first? Or are you still sort of looking over your shoulder and worried about teams like Castle Hill in fourth and down catching up to you? How do you sort of perceive it now? I will let anyone answer this first, whoever's brave enough to.
Look, I think every team's got the potential to finish in the top four. We're just going to focus on that and that only. We haven't played a team yet that couldn't beat us. They're all very good teams. So we're not going to get ahead of ourselves. We're just going to try and win every game, play our best football, and just enjoy ourselves and see where we finish up. As long as we get the top four, I'll be satisfied. That's where we're at the moment. We're certainly not looking over our shoulder at Castle Hill United at this stage.
Okay, and maybe to Georgia or Bianca, is there a team out of all bar one that you've played so far who has really given you the toughest test? Who do you think it would be?
Definitely Holroyd.
But I think we could have beaten them if we had a full team. We had a few injuries and a few out, and it was Wednesday night. So I think if we had a full team, we could have beaten them. But I think the talk up to it was a bit overwhelming for some of us as well. So just top of the table game. But next time I think we could definitely win.
Yeah, history will tell you that in whether it's in any of our associations, the midweek games tend to throw up some very strange results. Also, you had the instance where you'd already been on the match of the round twice at that point, I do believe, if my maths is mathing correctly. So they hadn't at that point. So, they had that little advantage. Like you take set pieces, for example. So there's all that factors into it. So it's all very interesting. But you guys will get the chance to rectify that later on in the season, of course. You are undefeated, speaking of match of the round games, in match of the round games. Most recently, you had that game at Valentine Sports Park against the Winston Hills Bears. You did surrender a lead in that game thanks to a wonderful free kick. It really was crazy. Do you perceive that as 2 points dropped or a point gained in that instance? Bob, maybe I'll ask you.
Yeah, look, we played a good game of football, and so did Winston Hills. They defended so well. They blocked strikers, but I actually put it as a 2-point loss, to tell you the truth. We should have won that game. It was a silly foul that was given away by Georgia. Anyway, but these things happen in football. That's what it is. But it was a good game of football. We thoroughly enjoyed it, and they're a great team, Winston Hills. We really enjoyed playing against them, and we're looking forward to playing them in the next round. They're a good bunch.
Absolutely. Georgia, do you want to talk about that free kick, or should we move on?
We are, yeah.
Go on, Georgia.
I think the game just got to me a bit, but that's all right.
It happens. It happens indeed. Now, Castle Hill, as you'll see, will have some very interesting words to say about you guys. I don't want to give anything away, of course, but there is a long-standing relationship, or perhaps sort of frenemy relationship there. You guys have the bragging rights over them in the very most recent grand finals, including the most absolute recent grand final where you guys won. I think it was 5-1, if my memory serves me correctly. Now, they also told me that when they scored their one goal, the crowd seemed to like that. So what I'm sort of gauging is that Kellyville tends to be everyone's least favourite team. Perhaps that's what happens when you guys are so successful. Now, I want to sort of throw back to any of those campaigns, any of the meetings against them in years gone by, even trial matches, I don't mind. What are some of the best memories you guys have individually of games against Castle Hill United?
Well, like we have a few friends in that team, so it's great to verse them, and it's so much fun. But it definitely gets very, very like frenemy up against your friends. But last year, I think the grand final, they had us a bit in the first half, which was great. They were really our main competition last year, so it was good to have the two Hills teams, main Hills teams in the grand final. But we love versing Castle Hill. It's so much fun, and we just have a laugh half the time, so it's just good. Healthy competition. Yeah.
Healthy competition. And Bob, for you, perhaps the tale is extends a bit more further than just the senior women's space. I know that Castle Hill are a very big club, perhaps a little bit bigger in years gone by, and they have a strong women's program as well. And I'm sure you, as the club president, and coming up against Colin, who I'm sure you know very well, there's a bit of a rivalry there as well. So what's your sort of feelings going into this game? Is it meaning a bit more to you as well?
Oh, it means a lot to me. I'd love to beat Colin McGowan. It's my favourite thing to do in life. And I've put this down on my calendar at the beginning of the season, and I'm looking very much forward to it. Castle United are a fantastic team, and like Georgia and Bianca said, we've got friends within the team, but that friendship stays on the sideline, and we get on and play the game, and we play a tough game against them, and we're looking forward to Sunday. And it'll be played as any other normal football game, and we'll shake hands afterwards, and we'll sing our song of victory very loud to Cole McGowan. Go Cole.
Very good. They'll love that. They will love that when they watch it. They like to go through with a fine-tooth comb through all of these. So now Castle Hill's your last game of the season before we restart the draw and we go back to the teams that we played in round one. If they do beat this one, though, sort of throwing back to the first question, they will be 2 points behind you. You will open up a pretty significant gap at the halfway point if you do beat them and get all 3 points. So I want to know, what did you guys observe from their 4-2 win over Norwest in a very recent match of the round game? That's kind of the game that turned around their fortunes a little bit this season. So, and probably their best result. So what did you guys gather, if anything, from that game?
Oh, look, they've improved. They've improved throughout the season. We knew they would, and that's why we're not dismissing them at all for this Sunday, because each week, and they've done this for years too, by the way, Mark, they'll improve throughout the season. And Cole's got the same mentality. If he finishes top four, he'll be very happy, you know. So they've improved, and we're not dismissing them at all. And they had a good game against Norwest, and we expect them to bring the same standard of game to us.
Yes, so they're a level with 9 points, on 9 points with Greystones at the moment. Greystones coming up against the foot of the table team in Mariong. So it's very important for them mentally, if they want to keep their top four hopes kicking on, that they get a result out of this one, certainly. And of course, the fact that it's a Hills derby, and even more specifically, I think you guys do have what we could call a derby just outside of the Hills derby as well. So I can't wait to tune into that game. I'll even try and get down there in the flesh and watch it as well. But guys, thanks very much for featuring on the podcast as per usual. Have a great training session. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Mark. We'll see you.
Hello there. In the Deploy Premier League 1, Doonside beat Prospect 3-0 as they return back to the form of champions that they are. Speaking of champions-elect, Marion dropped points for the first time since round 1 at Labour against Workers 2-2. Ropes continue to improve week on week with a 5-0 drubbing of Park Lee, but nothing could prepare us for Ponds 10, Rivo 1. Ouch. Eastern Creek got the match of the round dub against Quakers 3-2. They won at home. Behind us over there at Morrow. Time to analyse some goals, shall we? The first goal comes after Connor May gives it away or Pombart doesn't get it under control. You decide whichever the answer to that is. With the centre-backs already split due to how Quakers like to play out from the back, Nelson Heckendorf finds it square to Connor Thorpe, who composes himself to finish easily past Balcom. Quakers too slow to react, a bit lacklustre, unlike them, but becoming a bit of a trend for them this season, let's be honest. Creek have their own defensive laps to look at here, too slow to react to Gatsby Gray in midfield, allowed him to dance with it, and we know how quickly that man can turn on the samba. Scooped pass into Ethan Icon's path, top draw finish, but Creek stopped the man in midfield next time. The second goal for Quakers was virtually out of Creek's hands. Two lucky hit and hopes led to this from Icon, who will claim it, and it gave them their lead back. And so far, this looked like a really good turnaround for the juniors. In the second half, though, Liam Polinsky's goal on 65 minutes should never have been allowed to happen. This was the keeper's ball every day of the week for Quakers, but as you can see, he steps forward to commit too early, loses his positional sense in his 6-yard box. Polinsky was brave with the header 2-2. The winner for Creek 5 minutes later was absolutely delightful. World-class technique here by Golden Boot contender Brian Sohn. Look at this, seriously, look at this. Wow. To hit the ball like that and make it rise perfectly into the near post top corner, too hot for any goalkeeper in this league. It was brilliant, and that proved to be the winner. But for Quakers, 3 avoidable goals, a giveaway, a keeper error, and a poor headed clearance from a crossed-in ball for the third. Back to the drawing board for them. Welcome back. Let's go catch up with Ropes again. Returning to the Blacktown Football Hour podcast this week is a certain set of representatives from the over 30s Women's Division 1 competition. Both represent that of Ropes Crossing. Both have had incredible starts to their respective campaigns, and both will be facing up again tomorrow night. We had them on the podcast a little bit ago because they were meeting up the day after as well at that time. Craig from Ropes Crossing Reds, and now we're joined by Diana, who you might remember was originally Aislinn in the first time we met her, but Diana tonight, the new representative from the Whites, who did get the win 2-1 in that game, as we mentioned on the following episode of the podcast. And we're here to talk to them again ahead of their next meeting, like I said, tomorrow night. Guys, just generally, it's fantastic to have representative of both sides back on the podcast. And we're here to talk about that game in particular, the game since then, and a bit of a preview on the one tomorrow night. Diana, specifically, welcome to the Blacktown Football Hour podcast. Great to have you on. I think it's great to have new faces and new representatives from all of our teams. You guys, the Whites, are still 8 wins from 8 games so far, but none probably more important than that game about 5 rounds ago. An amazing 2-1 victory over Craig's Reds. It was actually the first goal you conceded all season, but to come away as victors in that game must have meant so much to you. So when that final whistle did go, what was the reaction like from all the girls and all the fans watching along?
No, it was such a great game to play. And, there's nothing better than playing a fair and equal game. And I guess it was a relief once the whistle was played and it was in our favour. Yeah. But, even had we lost, we gave it our best. Everybody played well. And that was the feeling, that it was a mutual feeling. Yeah.
Oh, very good. And it sounds like from what I heard, I got a couple of texts after that game from some of the players about how it went. And I certainly felt that there was a lot of sort of emotion in it. And certainly after the final whistle had been blown, there was certainly a lot sort of riding on the line once we built it up here on the podcast. That's
true.
Yes. Craig, from your perspective, in terms of a more coach's perspective on that game, was 2-1 a fair scoreline? What are some of the big details of the game that might have sat in your mind since then that you'd probably like to rectify come tomorrow night?
So I think the scoreline was pretty representative of the game. It was very, very close. They achieved their goal, which was limiting our goal scoring. If you remember our original podcast, one of our main goals was to break their duck basically and get some against, which we managed to get one. Game itself was good. Very different to a lot of the other teams in our competition. It was very, very physical, very fast, very high skill level. It was enjoyable. Like you said, there was a lot of emotion involved. We were disappointed, but in saying that, it did open our eyes to the different playing styles, where we can improve. It's not always a good thing, especially with semi-finals involved and things like that, to win every game. You want to get taught lessons. You want to see where you need improvement, find weakness, and build from there. So it's a good opportunity for us to see what we can do better next time, basically.
Ever since then, you guys have had your perfect form continue. It's been 4 wins from 4 for the both of you guys since then, including wins over the premiers in years gone by. I remember you guys saying that a whole group of players had moved from Rydalmere to Holroyd, perhaps something along those lines. But you guys have beaten those champions from years gone by, which is amazing. But you'll be facing again tomorrow night. So it's a 6-pointer, just as much as it was the first time about a month ago. But the stakes are even higher and perhaps a little bit different from your perspective, Craig, sticking with you for this question. If you want to reel in that minor premiership and have a chance of getting it again and taking it to goal difference, if this perfect run continues on, you've got to win this game. So is that how you see it?
Yeah, basically. We are still in favour on goal difference. They are catching us a little bit, but we've, just like any team, we've been battling quite a fair few injuries and illnesses for the last few weeks. Don't let the scorelines deter the fact that we have been struggling for numbers. Our leading goal scorer has been out for about 4 weeks or something now. Still probably out for another week or two. So we've had to adapt to players missing, adapt to not having our full lineup. So even though the scores are still sort of there, it's not a true representation of how we've been playing. It's been a lot closer this round, essentially the second set of rounds of the season. But yeah, we hope to bring it to them tomorrow. We've been working on what we think could help. Again, we're still missing players, so we're sort of just of the opinion, like, let's go out there, do our thing, have fun, kick that ball around, see how we go. Tactically as a coach, I'll try to, tweak little things here and there to help the game. But ultimately it'd be a really important match for us, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And having kept track of the results every week when they do get uploaded onto Dribble, I've noticed that going into the very first game, and the first time I had you on the podcast, it was the Whites who were, defensively so sound, but were struggling to score a little bit. They've now scored 7 and 6 and 5 goal hauls in their game. You guys have sharpened up your defense a little bit, but that goal scoring for your end has come down a little bit. So these teams are becoming closer in a lot of ways, and the similarities are uncanny, actually. Diana, I'll go to you now. I've got, obviously, with the 2-1 win last time, you guys will be feeling pretty confident after that, and you've taken that into your next couple of games with a perfect record continuing on. How confident is the group feeling specifically with repeating the success tomorrow night, though?
Oh, yes, absolutely. There's no doubt, we are feeling confident. We've got some goals, even though we have now conceded a couple of more goals in that time, but we've made it up with having more goals. But no, though, in the back of our mind, we know that this other side is a great team, and that can't be forgotten. And when we play games against teams like Holroyd, who have got some amazing players as well, even though we beat them, I was quite surprised by last week's score, because last year they were actually the team for us to beat. And it was quite even. So one time we'll win and then they would win. And yes, and I'm thinking that this year, that's our Holroyd team. Yeah. So it could go either way. Yeah.
I completely understand what you're saying. I know that feeling of having a bogey team that, whether it's the team I support and a team that they struggle against, or a team that I've played in and a team that we struggle against collectively. I understand that feeling. And I think it's certainly going to be a wonderful match. Speaking about the match specifically, let's stop looking backwards and look forwards. And to about 24, 25 hours time from now, you'll be really having your minds focused on this game. So, Craig, I'll head back to you. What did you learn about them last time? What are you willing to reveal about the lessons that you learnt, and have you been sort of applying that into training or conversations this week?
So it was apparent relatively quickly that their playing style is vastly different to ours. And we all know you get teams like that. They're a very high quality team, but personally in my career, I found teams that really struggled on a table, but you put them on the pitch and you can't touch them. They're really good because the playing styles just don't match up. We went down early 1-0 in that game. We made some tactical changes. We reviewed how we were sitting, and we felt like those changes really did make an impact. We started to control the game a little bit. We got a goal back. We were doing quite well. They made a tactical change themselves that worked really well. They got a second goal from it. But basically what it meant was it was a way for us to change our own tactics a little bit without losing our own playing style. I've since come up with another tactical idea that kind of meets in the middle a little bit, tries to nullify what their strengths are while also still using our own strengths, which was the balancing act last game. We did enough to stop them, but we weren't doing enough to beat them, basically, to do our thing. So hopefully with some changes and thoughts and that we'll be able to play our game while still defending their style. To go into specifics, one of the things we noticed straight away was very, very strong attacking midfield in the middle. Lots of players behind the ball from them. Very good on the ball, very strong on the ball. All of them were very, very physical, which isn't normally a style we'd like to play. But we learned pretty quick that, if we wanted to win, that's how we would have to match up one-on-one. They also have a number of very fast forwards and very fast defenders, it's not a very commonplace practice in this competition. Normally you'll have one really, really fast player or one or two really fast players, but to have a whole team of fast players was another thing as well. So tactically we've come up with some ideas we've discussed as a group, what we think could help. Again, without losing our own identity, because we don't want players who don't necessarily play in certain ways to miss out. We want everyone to be involved. We want everyone to come together and just do our best. Hopefully we've got it down to a T. We've been practicing it a little bit. We haven't been able to really train too much lately because we have had a lot of illness. I think last night we actually only had one person who could train. That's myself included. I've been sick as well for the last couple of weeks, but we've been doing a lot of talk, doing pre-game practices and discussions and things to try to fill that gap a little bit. So we're all very, very keen. We've been very keen for this game since full-time whistle of the last one. So we're all very much up for it. It's going to be a really, really nice game. I think it's going to be really, really not just important, but it'll be really good competitively as well.
Fantastic to hear. That was incredibly revealing, but also impressively cryptic at the same time. So I think that you've definitely rehearsed what you said there, and the way you sort of manipulated around. You have this tactic, but you weren't revealing it, and then you gave them plaudits to make them think, "Oh, we were quite impressive in attacking midfield." I love it. I think that's fantastic. Really good stuff.
Great observations as well.
It's not just me. It's our captain, it's our vice captain, it's our voices on the field all coming together to go, hey, this isn't working. This is what we're noticing. This is what we're feeling. It's a whole team effort, definitely.
Absolutely. Diana, as we wrap up the interview, I've got one more quick question to you. And it's just about, that's the first time I've actually heard that you guys were in the lead, then surrendered that lead, and then came back, tweaked a couple of things to find a winner. I'm fairly certain, I do remember hearing that the winner, actually now that I'm thinking about it, the winner was late on in the game, I do think. So correct me if I'm wrong, but that means that, you really you scored early and very late, so at both ends of the spectrum. So very interesting that as well. So you guys played all the way through the 90 minutes, which was really good to hear. So you guys are consistent in that way. Knowing that you guys were able to come away with a late win like that, that obviously means that your coach and you guys as a group were able to spot the fires and put them out, so to say. So does that, I don't want to say fill you with confidence again because I've already asked that, but does that give you the hope, knowing that with what you've just heard about their own tactical changes coming into this, that you think you'll be able to spot them pretty quickly and jump on that as well this time again?
So defense is something that we always practice. And even so, I've been playing with, a core group for the last 5 years, and it's just been a lot of our focus, and which has probably come in handy playing against this team. Really, it's don't let it get to the goalkeeper, which is probably great news because this year it's my first time in goals. And you know what? It's probably what they're saying. Don't let it get to Diana because she's going to miss it. So, no, but that's true. So, yeah, what Craig was saying was absolute, spot on. And and because I guess we haven't had the points like the Reds, we've also, been practicing a bit on our striking as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very interesting. So I've seen that come through, certainly with the goals that have been scored recently. It's interesting to see how these interviews have progressed since the first to now this one, and perhaps we'll have another look before, let's say, grand finals. If you just happen to get there, you can touch wood. That's your choice. But at the end of the day, the progression I've seen from the first to this time is that we were talking very much about how the groups came together, and I was really impressed by the way you guys sort of articulated around that. But now, having had the game and knowing that the stakes are higher, your response, both of you individually, to that game and what you've learned is very impressive. And it's great to see that as much as it is a fun kick around on a Friday, that people do really care about it genuinely at the end of the day. And the last thing you want to do on a Friday night after coming on a podcast and talking about it with me is then going and not fulfilling what you guys talked about here. So I wish you both individually the best of luck. I can't wait to see what the scoreline is come 9:30, 10 p.m. tomorrow night. And thank you very much for your time on the podcast this week.
Excellent. Thanks, Mark, for having us.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it.
Before we head back to Wins Premier League results, where has this sun come from in the last 2 minutes? Anyway, we're going to persevere on because that's what we do for you here on the Black and Football Hour podcast. That rope story that's building in that over 35s competition is beautiful. I'm a massive fan of it, so I hope you guys enjoy the time that they've committed and I've committed to following that story. And I think we'll give it one more go if both teams make the grand final, because I think it's a great little competition in that Division 1 over 30s ladies. So thanks to those guys for being on, Diana for her debut on the podcast as well, and Craig for coming back in the middle of his Thursday working week. WPL results, let's do it. We've got some great new storylines forming. Parkley came back to winning ways with a 4-0 thumping of Greystanes. Juniors went down by 7-0 unanswered to Kellyville. Winston Hills and Castle Hill tied 1-1, and in the match of the round, Holroyd beat Marion 2-0 to stay top of the lot. On 35 minutes, an absolutely outrageous goal here from Helene. It took the breath away of everyone watching, looping the goalkeeper. My word, another great goal in a match of the round, and it's just fantastic to see so many people having the bravery to hit them from distance. Considering how strong Marion have been defensively despite their position on the table, this was a bit strange from them, as their committed numbers forward, the left side of defence was left completely lacking, easily through on goal for Holroyd, easily past the keeper, exceptional work from an experienced striker, and 2-0 the game was over. Caught in transition with numbers committed forward to find an equaliser for Marion, it left them short at the back, and that's how the cookie crumbled. Right, welcome back here to my eyes. Let's go chat to Adrian Chand from Glenwood. Ahead of their match of the round at this very venue, 6 p.m. this Saturday night, I'm joined by Adrian Chand, the goalkeeper for Glenwood Redbacks, and we have the chance to talk about their season, a season which has brought about maybe the most unexpected win between both of our grades this year, but also has brought about a couple of issues, and I think they're here to talk about this openly and honestly today, and I'm glad that Chandy's here to talk about it with me. First of all, mate, how are you doing after last night? Another big game, and
it's good. It's good. Yeah, we've been fine. Just too many games, too many games straight after the other. But yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah,
of course, it's good to have you. Of course, we missed the first match of the round due to you guys just being busy at the time, and that first sort of preview match of the round segment on here. So it's good to finally get to chat to you post Mincho. So I think a lot's happened, and hopefully we can unpack that. So I want to start with the positives first of all. The squad is doing decent as a whole if you include reserve grade as well, and 21s can come into that too, which having watched them play, they're pretty decent. Not coming last on the club championship is very important, which is what you guys are not currently, which is very good. The reserve grade side sitting pretty decent in mid-table, but as a whole there is a bit of room for improvement. So is there a sense now halfway through the season, or any discussions around, do we want to prioritise the reserve grade a little bit more than first grade? It's not usually a question I ask teams.
No, I get your point. The thing is, right, starting of the season, our aim was top four in all 3 grades, and 21s are in it. Resi's are 3 points off in a game with a game in hand, and first grade we are 7th, which is last, but up till yesterday we were 1 point away, and now we're 4 points away. Obviously we lost yesterday to St. Pat's, good game. 4 points away from top 4 with 10 games left to go. It's not a bad position. Still looking to go top 4 in all 3 grades. Not really saying let's prioritize this or the other, but again, club championship is where I feel like it's at. Not coming last is great, because we did come last year. So again, gotta make progress, gotta go forward. Then again, yes, so Resis are doing really well. 21s are our 21s basically play most of our Resis games as well. So for them to back up and win most games, it's really good. And to obviously, because they are young, 18, 19 years of age, and they've got other commitments, and to play 2 games on a Saturday, amazing job to them. And yeah, I feel like the team's kind of set in Resis first grade and 20s. There's a lot of overlapping, but no one's really prioritizing any other.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's very good to hear, and seeing how all over that you are, to know that if you exclude the most recent game last night, that you were this many points away, it's very good. And I commend you for being so well researched in that area. And I think it's maybe all the teams should come in just as prepared as that. That's really good. Yeah. This weekend, the match of the round is against a club who seem to be pretty wickedly inconsistent. They can lose. They've lost 6-0 at times this year. They've lost 5-0 very recently. They'll also smack teams out of the water. So it's hard to tell what Polonia will bring to Blacktown Football Park this weekend. I want to talk about the first time that they played you guys, which was a 4-0 result in their favour. It was at their home ground. Now, technically, you are home, even though you are at Blacktown Football Park this weekend, but you have a great record at this venue and a history of putting on quite a show. There was a really great Ben Inns late on winner here.
We love the cameras.
You do. You love putting on a show. Yeah. So at this venue, you seem to bring about something that's extra special. So let's talk about that first game in particular against them, 4-0. Did that scoreline reflect the entire performance of both teams in that game, or was it a different story?
I'll be honest, they played well, but we gifted them the first 2 goals. Our mistakes, our passes, our tackles weren't it. They are a team coming down from PL1. Most of their players played at Pons, I think, Resi's team, and they've got intensity about them. They're well gelled, and we kind of let them play, and they scored 4 goals. And then second half it was 4-0 first half. Second half we played decent. Then again, they kind of took the gas off. But I feel like this game will be different, because at the time when we played them, we were 0 wins, not really gelling, not really having anything to do about ourselves, really down. But now we've got a couple of wins, we've got a draw, we've got moments where we feel like we should have won this game. So definitely looking to not get beaten 4-0 or conceding 4 in the first half. But I feel like the team they come up against this week will be different to the one they played. Yeah.
And just while we're sort of on this topic right now, talk to me about the squad sort of in terms of its squad availability. Are you guys expecting full numbers come this weekend?
Hopefully. The thing is, we have a young squad. It's a very young squad. First grade, Resis, 20s as well. Uni commitments, exam periods coming up soon.
And it is exam period,
yeah,
yes,
exam periods coming up soon. So there may be a couple of players going, got to prioritize studying, which is fair. We do have a couple of injuries. We've got a couple of boys injured or coming back from injury. I hope to get 3 full teams. 3 full teams, that's what we need. That's all we need. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks for being able to answer that, even though I threw that on you last minute. But that's the beauty of the podcast, is putting people under pressure before they go under pressure on the cameras on the weekend. Now, I'm going to just change around the order of the questions as well. I wanted to keep talking about the negatives from the past before we can talk about the great things from the past and then look at the future. So, one more thing about the past, which isn't great to talk about, which is the last match of the round game. So, it was a 2-1 loss to Minchinbury at Minchinbury, it has to be said as well. They scored a screamer early on, and that Minchinbury team isn't even quite the same. So that was probably one of the best Minchinbury teams and performances of the season, certainly, and they did quite well. The painful part about that game, and I think people tend to forget, is because it's been the only penalty miss of the year. There haven't actually been that many penalties in all the match of the rounds this year, so I think it's only been 3, and you guys happen to be the one that was unfortunately missed. So, kind of personifies or symbolises the season as a whole in a way. Now, there's 6 minutes to go in that game, and if he scores that, it's a different last 5 minutes. So, talk to me about after the game in the change room, knowing it was a match of the round and people saw that. Were you guys? What was the feeling like?
Well, that was the first of 3 misses. We've missed 3 pens this season, which isn't a great record. But after that game, I felt like we had that game coming our way. And
certainly in the second half.
Yeah, the second half we had that game coming our way, and we should have been much more clinical. Not just a pen, not just not just a pen. We had so many chances coming into that game. Second half, they had too. I just feel like we let ourselves down, which has happened a lot this season due to a number of factors. I can't put my finger on it, but then again, afterwards, after that game especially, we had a long hard look on ourselves and saying, like, if we can play like what we played in the second half, we can play a good game. We can not go 2-0 down and then start playing. And then again, yes, with 5 minutes to go, 6 minutes to go, we miss a pen, it kind of levels it down. We kind of start thinking about, all right, let's go for a draw now, or let's just hold down and let's not concede. So yeah, it does change the mindset a bit. There again, we look up, we move forward, next game. Yeah, can't really dwell on it.
Yeah, it's a perfectly good mentality to have. Yeah. Now, I do want to, of course, talk about the great things, and there is a huge plus, and it was one that I remember being on the microphone for. I think we were at Oakville that way at Colby, and I got the text message that Tigers had lost to, at the time, bottom of the table, Glenwood. Yeah. And I remember, and I don't mean to, I hope I didn't offend you at the time, but I made a big deal out of that because it was, first of all, we were covering a PL2 match at the time, and it was their first dropped points of the season, and it stirred things up. It wasn't like a 1-0 where you can expect maybe you got a lucky goal and then just put every single man and your will to live behind the ball, but it was a 3-2, so it was an incredible game, which means it would have had back and forth, shifts of momentum. I want to spend some time talking about that game, so let's do that. So, if you can cast your mind back, sort of who scored the first goal, who scored the last goal? Was it you guys that went ahead? Did you guys make a comeback of sorts? How'd that game go?
It was a comeback. I'd say they were all over us first half, but what I'm going to say is, like, we adapted well. It was a rainy day, the pitch wasn't as good as it should be. Tiger said it as well, like, 100% agree. But then again, we kind of wanted it more. Because as much as we love Tigers and I love the boys, I know them from high school, want to beat them, eh? They were unbeaten at the time, and if they beat us, they would beat everyone, basically, like the whole circle. Couldn't let that happen, could not let that happen, you know. I know Brendan's going to have a massive smile about this right now, but then again, we kind of wanted that game a bit more. We played compact. We didn't play counter-attack, but we did play compact, and we kind of just waited for our moments. We waited for our moments, we got our moments, and we scored. And some good saves, some good tackles. Lucky with a few refereeing calls here and there as well. But it was good because the referees do let advantage play nowadays, which is great to see. On a wet pitch, you rather get the advantage than get a free kick. So, yeah, I feel like a lot of things were in our favour. Probably like the only game where we could have said, like, you know, we got lucky and we played well and we got the win. There's been times where we've been lucky, didn't get the win, or we played well, didn't get the win. But that game, everything stuck.
Everything went your way, and sometimes that's what it needs to be to beat a top team. And you know, I remember thinking at the time, had you turned a corner, during that time you had 2 wins at the rounds, the only 2 wins of the season. And I remember thinking, this is where they start to propel themselves forward. And it hasn't been that way. There's been a draw since then, but it's been pretty negative ever since. But certainly one that sort of shifts out of the competition. And from my perspective, being able to talk about the PL2 and being competitive, I certainly think you made the league competitive. So even if you don't have sort of many, even if the camp is not happy at the moment, I think what you can do is certainly take positive and light from the fact that one game in particular shows that you guys are capable.
No, definitely. Like, that game lifted our levels, and we did beat Spurs afterwards. We were coming second at the time. We drew to Minterbury, but then again, it crept back again, where it kind of got in our heads that, like, you know, we can compete, we can play, and we got away from the basics of actually playing and actually doing the passing right, the warm-ups right, the tackling correct. So I feel like, yes, it got in our heads a little bit, but then again, we are a young team, and that happens. Inconsistency, that happens. For us, we've been very, very unlucky to lose to Oakville last week, where we lost in the last 2 minutes. And that's happened a couple of times where we've conceded late, and it's just been, I feel like in most of the season, we haven't been a 90-minute team. So we play 85 minutes, we concede, we lose 2-1. We've lost 2-1 maybe like 4 times. And yes, there's a lot of goals conceded at the end, and that's something we're looking to rectify. Okay.
Is there a chance that when you beat first and second back-to-back as a team toward the foot of the table, that you guys got a little, not complacent, because it's impossible to get complacent when you are down towards the bottom, but is there a chance that you sort of felt too satisfied with your achievements, or was it just...
I feel like it was the other way. I feel like when teams played against us after Spurs and Tigers, they lifted themselves up. They know we couldn't beat Tigers. We can beat Spurs, so we can beat them. And yeah, their game went up, and yeah, we still competed, but not really well. Yeah.
Okay, so let's look forward, or perhaps backwards, to where you'll be playing this weekend. You've got Polonia again. We're already around the circle one more time, and so you've already played them, and you know how they play. It just depends on what level they bring, because, like I said, wickedly inconsistent. Even though they got 5 wins from 9, it's impossible to tell which team is going to turn up. And I will ask them about this, I promise, when they do come on the podcast, and I'm sure you'll be able to enjoy them when it does come out Thursday, 7 p.m. So, this weekend, is the group feeling confident, or is it more of a sense of a chance at redemption, or is it a chance to rectify things? How is the group feeling towards this fixture?
Look, we spoke after the game last night against St. Pat's. We lost, and we all know what we want to do. We want to get top 4 in all 3 grades, and for us to lose on Saturday will mean we're 7 points behind. And for us, it's a 6-pointer, and they are in the top 4, so we have to beat them. We got to get some points off them, and everyone knows how important this game is for us. And we do love the cameras, so we do bring our A game when we do play here. That's a plus side, but I feel like we've got something to prove to ourselves after a disappointing loss to St. Pat's, who played well, wanted it more, but I feel like we could have done so much better in that game, conceded less goals, or maybe scored a few more. Missed the pen again, so that's great.
Really?
Yeah. So everyone knows the rules, everyone knows what's at stake here. And that being said, it's not just first grade. 21s know they win, they stay in top 4. Resis know they win, they stay in top 4. So there's a lot of stake here for the club, and again, I like to think that everyone that represents Glenwood thinks about it as a club rather than the team they're representing, and that's something we try to bring in, the culture kind of thing.
I remember that I did actually get to watch the 21s for Polonia. Let me just get my head around this. So the 21s for Polonia are from Newbury, and they are fantastic. They are really electric to watch. I don't think they're at the top of the table exactly, but they're quite good, those Newbury 21s. So they're right up there. So it is that 21s game in particular could be a real fun one to watch, which is great, because after I film mini reels on Saturday morning, I can come here and I can watch that in between preparing the rest of my commentary notes. So I'll be very excited to watch that game in particular. The reserve grade side will be fun as well, because I know their coach Daniel Gauci, and he is a football fanatic, and I think that could be a really close one as well, because
there's a lot of Fijian boys there as well. Bologna and even Newbury. So like it's like amazing getting to know all these people coming from the same country, and you meet them at Blacktown. You don't meet them in Fiji or anywhere. You meet them at Blacktown playing against each other. So yeah, again, Blacktown, multi-racial community, and that's why the football is great.
Very good. One more question I have for you before I do wrap it up, and mainly because you guys did miss out on the first of these match of the round segments, so I do want to give you some extra time if that's okay. But if you do need to leave, just let me know. Give me a tap on the shoulder. But is there any chance you might take the next penalty? Has that been discussed?
Look, Now, if it gets to it, it gets to it, but I'm hoping not. Hopefully the next one goes in. The funny thing is, because we've missed 3 and I've saved 3, so maybe I should
Seriously?
I should stop saving them, and then maybe we'll score 1. But yeah, next one maybe.
Next one for sure.
Maybe tomorrow.
Well, we'll see what the action brings come Saturday night, 6 p.m. Here at Blacktown Football Park. Make sure to come to the game or switch the live stream on after your own games. And Adrian, thanks very much for your time on the podcast, as per usual. Great segment and a great advocate for all things good in football, certainly. Really do appreciate it. Good luck this weekend.
Cheers, Bruce.
Hello again. The final set of results coming up from the Deploy Premier League 2 this time. Quakers did a 2-1 comeback over St Pat's. Oakville also 2-1 over Glenwood. Oakville now in second, by the way. Polonia tied 2-2 with Minchinbury. Then on Tuesday, as you heard from Adrian, St Pat's 4 over Glenwood's 1. Right. That's going to do it for this week's episode. Not the longest episode we've ever had on the Blacktown Football Hour podcast, but we've got a big one coming next week. We've got a surprise guest. Well, not a surprise. If you've looked at our social media feeds, you'll know who's coming in. His name is Ron Smith. We're going to have some content coming from that, so a lot of my priority is going on that next week. So a bit of a shorter episode this week to sort of prepare you for next week. To all be watching to this point, I really do appreciate it. Congrats to Nettie for winning the Volunteer of the Week from Ropes. Enjoy your halfway point games of the season. Like this video for good luck as you head into your game. Subscribe as we near 1,000 subs. And remember to cue the outro music.